Big setback for BJP veterans and criminal charges to continue in the criminal conspiracy case of Ayodhya dispute. Babri Masjid case. Supreme Court allows CBI's appeal challenging withdrawal of conspiracy of charges against senior BJP leaders, including L.K Advani. My colleague Anusha getting us this big breaking news. Anusha, give us the details.
So, Devina, this is a big setback coming to Murali, Manohar, Joshi, Advani, Bharati, the top brass of the BJP. The Supreme Court has allowed the CBI appeal, and now they will be charged under 120B, the criminal conspiracy for the demolition of the infamous Babri Masjid. Also, most importantly, this trial for 120B, criminal conspiracy, has been transferred to the Lucknow bench. It's an additional sessions judge who's hearing the case today. And secondly, the most important point is that this trial will happen on a day-to-day basis. There are no adjournments which will be given. At the same time, the judge in this case cannot be transferred, and the trial has to conclude within 2 years. The Supreme Court has made it very clear today that there cannot be any further dilly-dallying as far as this trial is concerned, and there have been further directions about Kalyan Singh, who's right now the governor. So the Supreme Court has said that he enjoys a constitutional immunity under Article 361. But the moment he steps down as the governor, the charges will become active against him. So clearly there's a window given here. There is no absolute immunity given to Kalyan Singh. Right now he's the governor, so Supreme Court could not charge him. However, if due to political pressure or propriety he steps down, there would be charges against him.
Well, it's interesting, Anusha, because Justice Nariman had also observed that people cannot be discharged on technical ground. It was a technical ground in which the case was disposed of. He had also noted there is something very peculiar going on in this case, and as you're saying now, the trial will be shifted to Lucknow court. Will it be a joint trial? And also, what's the next step from the CBI?
So clearly, to give our viewers a little bit of background, the argument here was quite classic. There was a technical defect due to which 21 people got discharged. The top brass, L.K Advani and others, also got discharged of the criminal conspiracy charges. The question before the Supreme Court was, do you let justice evade due to a technical defect? Also, you would remember that, Kalyan Singh and other BJP leaders had argued before the Supreme Court that even if the conspiracy charge has to be revised, it has to be revised at the Raebareli court, because there should be a process of appeal against them at the Lucknow bench. Clearly, the Supreme Court has refused to give any sort of relief on that matter. Also, the fact that the Supreme Court has laid down such strict guidelines when the trial is concerned. Also to point out, they have said there should be no de novo trial, which means that the trial cannot begin, from the beginning. There are about 800 witnesses which need to be examined. So the witnesses who have already been examined do not need to be examined from the beginning. And clearly the attempt here is that this matter reaches a logical conclusion as soon as possible.
All right. Also, let's tell our viewers that what exactly was the camp Advani and the other BJP leaders were arguing in the court all this while. They said that they were not present at the site of the demolition of Babri Masjid as well. Now, Anusha, even as the court has taken this stringent view, what is the legal proceedings that we're looking at? And also tell our viewers, if the charges are proven, then what is the maximum punishment? Be with me, because also we have Zafarab Gilani, who's joining us at this point of time from Waqf Court. Sir, thank you for speaking to India today. Your first response on this big decision that's been taken by the Supreme Court allowing CBI's appeal in the Babri demolition case for criminal conspiracy charge against BJP top rank.
You see, it's a matter of great solace to the entire country, especially to those secular people who have been waiting for the last more than 25 years, that the guilty persons who had committed this greatest attack on democracy and secularism by demolishing Babri Masjid, they should be punished. Now the Supreme Court has paved the way for their conviction and punishment, because so far they were avoiding, and one fittest or the other for the last 15 years. They were running free without being tried in the Lucknow court of CBI. Now the Supreme Court has set a deadline, and we hope and trust that justice will be done, and the persons who were guilty, they will be punished for this act of demolition of Babri Masjid, which has been held to be one of the most shameful acts by the Supreme Court also earlier in 1994. So we have interest that the justice will be done with all the people of the country who have been shocked by this incident.
But do you believe that the inordinate delay on the ground of a technicality, a mere technicality of case file number 198, that 12 persons who were involved and who've been indicted now by the Supreme Court, that the criminal conspiracy charges will be formed against them, were not present at the spot at that moment, has hurt the case? Do you believe that justice has been delayed till now?
See, but mainly CBI is also responsible for all this. CBI has always acted under political pressures, whether it was Congress regime or BJP NDA regime. So therefore, it was all the time that CBI had acted under the pressure of the local present government. And then last time Mr. Advani was discharged from Rivalry Court, CBI did not file division. We had to file division. And when the government changed, UPA government came to power, then the CBI joined us. So therefore, it is all because of CBI's this sort of attitude of acting under the political pressure. Now I hope that the Supreme Court has directed them. Therefore, they will abide by the Supreme Court verdict and they will act impartially and honestly. If CBI acts impartially, the case will be decided within 2 years.
So do you believe this time round, even after the Apex Court verdict, now there will be an impartial investigation by the CBI?
Now investigation is not to be done, only trial is to be done. That will be done by the court.
Yes.
And I'm sure
the
that
case that will be presented by the CBI in the court.
Yes, now witnesses are in the court, and the court will function impartially and honestly under the guidance of, under the instruction of the Supreme Court.
All right, Mr. Jilani, be with us. Also joining us is Khalid Rashi Firangi Mehli, who is with us. Sir, thank you for speaking to India today. Your first response on this big Supreme Court observation.
We welcome the observation of the Supreme Court, and we expect that the final decision will come as soon as possible, so that the justice could be done in the Ayodhya case.
All right, but sir, why do you believe there's been a delay so far? The first appeal filed in 2011, do you believe, as Mr. Jilani has been accusing the government after government for a political pressure on this case?
Yes, there has been very much political game in this case from the very first day. And now, since the highest court of this country has again taken up this matter, we expect that final decision will come as soon as possible.
Also, sir, we've seen that considerable amount of argument that's gone in the court. The technical ground on which the case has been argued, that the 12 people were not present at that spot, has been dismissed by the Supreme Court. They've also questioned that additional charge sheet was not filed by the CBI. Do you believe the investigation should also open up now into how the CBI has carried and investigated this case?
And I think that the legal experts know better than me that all type of proofs are present. All these people were present. There are photographs, there are video clips, and I think that these video clips and photographs are also with the various agencies as well as with media. So on the ground of which, and there are many witnesses who are present there, including the government officials. So I think that if these government officials would be called as witnesses, and various photographs and all the video films are there. So I think that on that basis, the court will proceed in this matter.
Be with me. Let me also get Mr. Jilani at the moment, who's still with us. Mr. Jilani, now that the Supreme Court has said that the criminal conspiracy charges should be revived against the top BJP leaders, and we're looking at that case being now carried forward in the Lucknow court, but how are you looking at this case impacting the civil dispute of Ram Mandir and Babri Masjid issue? All right, we'll try and get through Mr. Jilani as well. Rajdeep Sardesai is also joining us. Rajdeep, your first thoughts on the Supreme Court's observation? We'll try and get through Rajdeep as well. Let me see if we have Anusha at the moment. Anusha, can you take us through what's next in the case?
So, Devina, the next step is that this charge sheet of a criminal conspiracy, the Kar Sevaks are already being tried at the Lucknow court. So clearly the top brass of the BJP will also be tried there. The statements would be recorded. There are about 800 witnesses, over 800 witnesses which have to be examined, cross-examined. There will also have to be witnesses which will have to be recalled. So clearly this is a tedious process that will go on. The day-to-day trial has been ordered. So the law will have to take its course. The court has also said that if any of the aggrieved parties find that there's a violation of the court's order as far as, the principles which have been set about the day-to-day hearings, no adjournments given, reasons recorded in writing, if there is a violation of any of these, the parties can directly approach the Supreme Court. There is no need to go to the High Court. So clearly the bench led by P.C. Ghosh and Justice Nariman, who pronounced the order today, were very clear that there already has been a lot of delay in this matter and no further delay can be allowed.
All right, be with me, Anusha. Rajdeep also joining us. Rajdeep, take us through the big political impact that the Supreme Court decision will have.
Well, there are 3 or 4 immediate political impacts of this Supreme Court verdict. The biggest one could be that Uma Bharati may lose her cabinet ministership. Remember, she is now being officially charged for a very serious criminal act, and since the court has decided to go ahead with the trial, the question is whether Uma Bharati can now continue as a cabinet minister. Number 2, remember there was some talk of L.K Advani and Manohar Joshi both being potential candidates of the BJP for the presidentship. If this day-to-day hearing doesn't terminate by the time the president's elections are done in June, July, then it appears extremely unlikely that either of these senior leaders of the BJP could be potential candidates of the party for the president elections. Number 3, it does raise the ghosts of the Babri Masjid once again. Exactly in the year which is 25 years after the demolition, now have the case being heard. So the matter will once again come into the public domain. And let's not forget that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was also very much involved in the entire Ram Janmabhoomi movement. So clearly his critics will get an opportunity to target the BJP and its Hindutva politics. And if particularly Mr. Advani himself is held guilty, then obviously it will become a big talking point for the opposition in particular. So there are 3 or 4 major political points that come right away. And the question I think that one must ask at the moment is quite clearly this. It's taken 25 years for this verdict to be pronounced. Just that, and what kind of a verdict? That the trial must continue. It's not as if there is that Mr. Advani and Mr. Joshi don't have a right to appeal. This matter could go on for another 25 years if it reaches the Supreme Court again. But at the moment, it's only a trial in the lower court that will take place, and that itself has taken 25 years. So that tells you the twists and turns that this case has taken, the kind of political pressure that has been involved in this case. But the immediate political impact, I think, will be felt in what the government decides to do on Uma Bharati specifically.
Appreciate you joining us. Meanwhile, the court has also ordered day-to-day hearing of the case, and the trial is set to be completed in next 2 years, according to the court. We take a very, very short break here at the moment. We do have Priyanka Chaturvedi, I'm told, so we'll go across for the first Congress reaction on this. Priyanka, your first response on the big verdict that we've seen from the Supreme Court on the BJP top leaders.
No, it's absolutely a welcome move by the Supreme Court, considering that it has taken years and years for the trial to begin and for the BJP leaders flouting every rule of law and order to ensure that their names were not a part of the trial. I think it is an endorsement of the fact that they were totally involved in something like this and creating a situation. Babri Masjid was demolished and what happened after that. So considering the trial will go on a daily basis and they have been included, and Mr. Kalyan Singh post his retirement as the governor would also be part of the trial, just is a vindication of all the people who have been fighting for this cause and fighting for the victims of the aftermath of.
Because I have to head to a break very quickly. Want to get your point in this. Should Uma Bharati also now step down as a minister till the trial is over on the moral grounds?
Absolutely, but considering that the Bharatiya Janata Party has run its total governance model and politics on the basis of this kind of politics, I doubt they will face any kind of moral guilt as far as this is concerned.
All right, Priyanka, appreciate you joining us.